Good morning, everybody. Stu Smith here going live. Hope you guys are well this Monday morning. And I'm waiting on Instagram to go live at the same time as YouTube over here and Facebook. We are now live on all three. So let's get talking. So today's Q&A can start after this little introduction. And I just want to share with you a conversation I had with a young man who's getting ready to go to SOAS. And he was saying, I was taught how to swim using, he showed me the method. And I said, oh, that's the elementary side stroke. Nothing wrong with that. Depends on which one's faster, whether it's elementary side stroke or the CSS, which one's more efficient and which one doesn't exhaust you. So that is my criteria for how do you pick a stroke that you can do on a Navy PST, which is a 500-yard swim. And the real only rule there is that it has to be an underwater recovery stroke. That means you can't have a high arm coming out of the water like a freestyle recovery. So breaststroke is considered an underwater recovery stroke, side stroke, and the modified side stroke, which has been nicknamed the combat swimmer stroke over the years. I think the nickname came about in the mid-90s, but the modified side stroke had been in years, early 90s, late 80s. So, all right, let's talk a little bit about it because a lot of people don't realize there's even a difference or think they're doing one or the other, and they don't really know. So I have a little short up on YouTube that I'm going to share with you. And let's see if I can make this a little bigger. Oop. All right, so I'm going to come back over here. All right. So unique thing about this stroke is it's a lot different, but there's some similar elements to it. And this is up on my YouTube channel on the shorts. You'll see CSS at the top, elementary side stroke on the bottom. And here's the first difference right here before we even get started with the video is one, the CSS has you gliding with both hands over your head. The other one has you gliding with the lead arm, trail arm position. So you're just gliding like this. Nothing fancy, just the old elementary side stroke. So one is better than the other in the gliding phase, depending on your streamlined body position. I have seen people who have a very tight streamlined body position glide for 4 yards every kick, which is really impressive. So we are going to just see which one works better for you. But I've also seen some very efficient elementary side strokes out there. In fact, the fastest elementary side stroke I've ever seen was a 620. But that dude was a collegiate swimmer and water polo player. So it didn't matter what stroke he was swimming, he was going to kill it. So I can't really say that's a fair judge. So both can be fast. Typically, though, for the non-swimming athlete, the CSS is faster than the elementary side stroke. That's just my experience. And that's why I tend to teach the CSS, because I think it's faster. But I also have taught the elementary side stroke to people who have a hard time getting into this streamlined body position like this. So some guys that have labrum tears, not that that's preventing them from doing things, but post labrum tear surgeries, triathletes who want to still keep swimming, I teach them the elementary side stroke. They can keep that bad shoulder doing less effort versus a freestyle. And guys that just have tight shoulders and their streamlined position looks like this, like a plow versus a straight arm torpedo. So there are some uses for it. It really kind of depends. Oh, the other uses for recon guys taking the 500-yard 500-meter swim test with full camis on. Elementary side stroke, for me, has been better when swimming with clothes. So there's some uses for it. I'm not knocking it. I just think personally, non-swimming athletes can be faster with the CSS. So let's break this down real quick. Let me just show you. So you can see the glide here, one arm over his head, the glide here, two arms over your head. And I'll try to, okay, so right there, notice that top arm went first. But on this elementary side stroke, the bottom arm goes first. See how the bottom arm moves first with the bottom, watch the bottom swimmer. The bottom arm goes first, and then the top arm grabs the water that the bottom arm brings and kicks and holds the glide. So typically, there's a few more strokes with the elementary side stroke, so I wouldn't say it's as efficient. It's a little less efficient, but it's efficient enough. So, I would give it a B for efficiency, whereas the CSS has an A for efficiency, as long as you're not flutter kicking a whole lot. So just one more time, you guys take a look at both. Top arm, bottom arm, kick, hold the glide for the top arm, whereas the bottom arm, top arm kick almost are together, timed together. Boom. Yeah, and they hold that glide with the lead arm, trail arm position. So anyway, I just want to show you that's the difference. And we'll be working with some guys who learn the CSS this week and trying to see which one's better for them. I'll let you know next week whenever we figure it out. So what do we do? I'm going to show them both. I'm going to test them in both. And through that assessment, we're going to find out what they should do for their PST that really matters when they show up at SOAS or when they take their contract PST. So there you go. All right. So what do we have here? Hope you guys are doing well, by the way. Over here on Instagram, no questions yet. How about over here on YouTube? Looks like we got some questions. What is the best way to determine which running shoe to buy? Well, you need to find a running shoe expert. So, running shoe expert, I am not one, but I wrote an article on one and interviewed one a while back ago. It's an article on military.com. In fact, I will get it for you right here. A professional explains how to select running shoes. So, once again, here's what I want you to do. Ask that question in the Google machine, put my name in it, and you'll probably come up with this article right there. In fact, I'll put it in over here for Instagram as well. And I know you guys can't click it over there, but you can see the title. The last part of that hyperlink is Professional Explains How to Select Running Shoes. So read that article. That should help you. Ryan says, Team Guy use Solomons and Morels. Yeah. I've seen them use all types, be honest with you. C. Ray, my buddy, how are you? Let's see. Good morning, sir. Any advice on dealing with the potential of having to take life in this career? Ooh. Any reading recommendations or anything? Yeah, there's a great book written by a psychologist, and you may have heard of him, Dave Grossman. It answers your question. A whole book answers your question. It's called On Killing: The Psychological Cost of Learning to Kill in War and Society. And he has some follow-on books as well. Trying to think. I can't remember the name of his other books. Let's see. Dave Grossman books are On Combat, on killing, warrior mindset, and on spiritual combat. That's interesting. He's written a whole bunch of them. I would start there. Um, that is too in depth of a question for me to give it a good answer in 1 minute. But yeah, you should read that book. It's a good one. Let's see. Ryan's here giving me some synopsis posts there. Appreciate it. No more questions over here. So I'm not showing any more videos today of swimming. I could, I guess, but tomorrow is our CSS critique show. So I would like to answer some questions if you have them. However, I do have another topic I can chat about that might steer some questions. It's called EMDR. Have you guys ever heard of EMDR? I've heard about it, but I really didn't know a lot about it. So I did some research this week. I did a podcast. In fact, you can find that podcast up on YouTube, and it's podcast 246, and it's done with Police Chief Dan Willis, Police Captain Dan Willis, 30-year veteran, SWAT commander, and he has a book out called Bulletproof Spirit. Might be another good book for you as well. And he highly recommends EMDR, which stands for Eye Movement Desensitization and Reprocessing. So basically, what it does when you have a specific traumatic event, a lot of times there are emotions tied to that. I mean, obviously, everything from sadness to guilt to, just horrific scene that you just have to deal with as a first responder or military person as well. And what it does, it's very interesting. It takes you to that moment. So it is some talk therapy, but at the same time as you talking about that specific event, you are turning your eyes in a specific way. A trained therapist will walk you through it, and you'll walk left and right with your eyeballs, just looking here, looking there, looking here, looking there. Like left and right, up and down. And it's really interesting because some reason that engages both sides of the brain, and it helps you lessen the emotion tied to it. So I highly recommend checking out what EMDR therapy is. There's some pros and cons to it, as with any therapy, but I think having more tools in your backpack before you go into these jobs, or maybe you're already active and you've seen some stuff that most people don't see, consider EMDR therapy. It's everywhere. Insurance pays for it. It's legit. It's not just some hocus pocus thing. It's been in existence since the early 90s. And I've known people who did it in the early 2000s, and they are completely doing so much better. So it's something to look at. In fact, I just wrote an article on it on my website, and I did a little synopsis of that podcast, so you can read a little bit about it. And something else that he really did a good job with is describing the why of tactical, professional, public service jobs, why people do it. And I was really impressed with his answer, because it is about serving others and a cause greater than yourself. Because if you're not serving that way, you're really just serving yourself, right? And so, anyway, check out this article. It explains a lot of what EMDR is. as well as that why, follow, what is your why type of thing. Why are you doing this? Because here's the deal. If you don't really have a good understanding of why you're doing something that is hard and very challenging, there will be moments of doubt and you'll question why you're putting yourself through this. And when that occurs, you have to have a good answer of why you're doing this. So that is why the why is important. But check out that article. It kind of explains it in a way I've never heard it explained before. So if that makes any sense. And that podcast is really good. I think we did it in about 45 minutes. It's really solid about his story and his journey. Let me see. Somebody says I sent this question into your DMs, but when sharing a lane in a public pool, should I be shortening my kick during the CSS to make sure I don't hit anyone? Yes, absolutely. I mean, unfortunately, that big scissor kick can be a little bit crazy. You just have to be aware of your surroundings, right? If you see somebody coming towards you, shorten that kick, right? Do a little dolphin kick or a little flutter kick instead of your normal big scissor kick. Because if you kick somebody, one, it's going to hurt, and two, it's probably going to hurt you too. So, I've seen people break toes kicking people in the pool. So, yeah, be smart on that one. Yeah, don't kick people. I will say this though, when we swim and we put in 8 people in a lane and we're swimming circles, it's almost inevitable somebody's getting kicked. It just happens. And it's just part of the deal. So if it's a bunch of dudes who are preparing for CSS and the jobs after that test, I wouldn't sweat it then because it's just natural part of the journey. But if you got a 75-year-old woman swimming freestyle next to you and you kick her in the ribs, that's not that cool. So don't do that. Is a good age to go to selection? Is 23 a good age to go to selection? Absolutely. That's when I went. I went at 22, turned 23 while I was there. Would you recommend to wait? I am competitive standard training wise. I don't see why there's a reason to wait unless you have some life situation that requires it. I think 23 is great, but yeah, I think 27 is great too. 21 is okay as well. So kind of up to you when you go. My advice is just be ready when you go. That's the key. Just bought the Army SF book, going to start workouts today. Hey, good luck. It's a tough one. It's a good one. Let me know if you have any questions. That's what I'm here for. So, is there any chance you could write an article explaining muscle fatigue and muscle failure? You have a video in 2020, but other than that, I can't really find it. I have done something on that actually. In fact, Pavel and I did an article together. Stu Smith, Pavel, failure, stop signs. He calls it the stop sign. So check out this article. It's really good. And there's 5 signs when you're doing strength and endurance exercises. That's what these calisthenics are. When you should start ending your set, right? And what the definition of failure and fatigue is. I would say that I like going up till I can't do it, but that's still not considered failure. Failure is when you are going on that 10th rep, you're on number 9 and you're shaking, trying to get up there and you fail. That is failing. If you go up to 10 and you stop at 9, that's fatigue. Does that make sense? So read about the stop signs. I'm going to put this article link in here. It's really good. Pavel's super smart. We had a good time writing this article. and communicating together. But here's the stop signs for you to like consider you're done with this set. The speed of your rep slows down. The tempo slows down with pauses and rest in between your set. Breathing rhythm changes. Technique is changed, like it goes from good technique to poor technique. And the rate of perceived exertion exceeds 8 on a scale of 1 to 10. So as you can see, fatigue is almost failure, but it is not quite. And these are just stop signs, to let you be in that zone. Be honest with you, after he and I wrote this article, that's where I came up with 80%'s the new 100%. And it's great for old guys like me. I don't think it's necessary for younger people that are trying to crush workouts, but it's not a bad thing either on some of your workouts to not push failure every set. If you're going to push failure, maybe push failure on your last set, right? Out of, say, you're doing 5 sets of something and you want to push failure for 1 or 2 sets. That's logical, but you don't want to push failure every single set. But you want to get really close to failure with a high level of fatigue. Okay, so sorry if that is vague, but that is about as good as I can do explaining failure and fatigue. But read that article; it will help you tremendously. I just dropped recently from Buds, and now I'm trying to go Navy EOD. Any tips on what to work on? Yeah, dive prep is really hard. In fact, you need to read the article. It's like dive selection, dive prep, Stu Smith, military.com article. Let's see. I think it's called like dive prep is. But anyway, you need to tread well. You need to swim with fins, without fins, just like you were at Buds. Maybe it wasn't military.com. Dive prep is selection. Oh, here you go. So Navy EOD diver prep, it was on my site. Is now be prepared. It's no joke. Get good at water and land activities. In fact, I'll put it up here on my YouTube channel, the link, and I'll put it over here. Read this article. It'll kind of give you a full rundown of what you need to do. Hey, man. Someone says I'm cracking up just thinking about a poor old lady getting kicked in the ribs. Hey, man, we had this hardcore swimmer. She's a master swimmer for 50 years. She's probably 78, 80 years old, and she would never swim in our lane. And I had to like convince her. I said, "Hey, I'm just doing freestyle. I'm not swimming, side stroke." She goes, oh, "Okay, you can swim with me," but evidently one of my guys hit her in the hand once, and she had a big old bruise. I mean, it was kind of sucked. So yeah. Let's see. It looks like I answered all these questions over here on Instagram. Let's see what we got over here on YouTube. Met some Green Berets who are still traumatized by someone who died. Their background isn't religious, so maybe that makes a difference. Don't wait. I'm 35. In waiver process, just do it early. I chose relationships for 8 to 10 years instead. Ryan, you got an interesting story for sure, but you can definitely get through selection at 35. In fact, they like older guys there at Army selection because you're going to be a teacher quite, as a big part of your job. You'll still be doing cool stuff too, but you're going to be teaching really cool stuff on a fairly basic level to people in a foreign country. But yeah, I'm not sure if you were referring to EMDR, but seriously, consider it. Somebody says, hey, went to SOCOM Hell Day in San Clemente, PST scores 550 on a 250 swim. Ooh, that's not good. 65 push-ups and sit-ups, not great either. 15 pull-ups, that's not okay. 10:45 run, your PST book has really helped out. Well, you still need to keep doing it because those are mediocre scores. You know, I want you to be able to. You should be able to do 250 in 4 minutes, 4:30 at the slowest. Be 80 plus on your push-ups and sit-ups. Definitely be 15 plus on your pull-ups and try to get that run below 10. Definitely in the nines, probably be better. So keep on working. Good job getting through that hell week though, hell day. Let's see, what's the fastest way to run a 9-minute 1.5 mile? I'm doing sprints 3 days a week along with a long, slow run. Well, see, here's the problem. You need to do some goal pace running, which has nothing to do with sprints. You can do sprints 1 day a week, but the other 2 days a week, you should learn how to run a 6-minute mile if you want a 9-minute mile and a half. That means you need to run a minute 30 400, a 3-minute 800, and do multiple sets of that. So I would say 10 to 12 sets of 400s, 5 to 6 sets of 800s at that 6-minute mile pace. Not faster, not slower. It's not a sprint day, and it's not a long, slow distance day. It is a goal pace day for 2 days of that week. And then you can go fast one day and you can go slow the next. That's fine. Any tips on learning egg beater? The only thing I'm struggling on right now in the water. Well, I will tell you this. I didn't know what egg beater was when I went through buds. So it's not necessity that you need to learn it. You can do scissor kick left, scissor kick right, and get through buds. In fact, I have multiple articles on treading. In fact, let me see where I am here. In fact, first, treading might be a mobility issue. Read this article. Very important you read this article because treading might be a mobility issue. And it's going to explain to you what the egg beater is in that article. The other one is, let's see, treading, CSS. You'll see multiple ways to tread in this video that's attached to this article. One's the scissor kick option, one's a breaststroke option, one's the egg beater option, which, if you don't know what the egg beater is, the best way for me to explain it is an alternating breaststroke kick. When I teach breaststroke, I teach people to envision kicking a soccer ball to the bottom of the pool with the inside of their foot, straight down. Because if you're not producing downward force, you're not going up, right? A lot of people think the egg beater is a bunch of spinning in circles like this, like an egg beater. Poorly named, if you ask me. It should look more like this, almost like a bicycle. Because it's a soccer kick going straight down, alternating, and it looks more like the power is a downward force power. Otherwise, you're not going up. If you're spinning in circles, you're just going to, you might stay up, might sink down, depending on the angle of your spin. So, yeah, read those two articles. I think that'd be a helpful start, and then start practicing. In fact, every swim workout should have a 10-minute tread in there. That can be a 10-minute tread as a warm-up or a 10-minute tread as a cool-down. Every time you're in the pool, tread for 10 minutes. Whether or not you have to use your hands or not, I don't care. Eventually, you'll be able to go 10 minutes, no hands. Then you got it. Then you don't have to worry about it. I promise you. What if you're interested in becoming a SEAL, don't really feel passionate about who or what we are fighting, or more bluntly put, don't feel like it's even necessary to ensure our freedom? Well, I'm not sure. I mean, they're still serving, right? You're still serving your country when you join the military. any job. It's just, do you want to be regular military or do you want to be in the special ops world? You know, who we're fighting doesn't matter. You're just a pawn in this anyway. We could be fighting somebody completely new next week. I don't know. But, we're not in a 20-year war situation anymore, thank goodness, where every deployment was a combat deployment. Now they're having peacetime deployments. We just had buddies that just got back off deployment. In fact, a couple were working out with us today, and they explained what they were doing. A lot of, training other forces. Get ready for, the Ukraine war. Training Ukrainians in Poland, or doing other bilateral training with other allied forces. That's what it was like when I was in the 90s. Which books would you recommend from your fitness books for someone trying to get in shape to start your Army SF programs? My advice would be go with the Army PFT program. If that one's too hard, like your basic Army PFT, CFT, can't do it, probably I'd start off with calisthenics and cardio workout, then go to Army PFT workout, which, by the way, is the CFT and PFT mixed in there, and then go into the Army SF program. But you're going to need a year to go through all three because they're, some of them are pretty long. Especially if you're starting off as a beginner anyway, you're going to need about a year to prepare well. Let's see, what else we got? Looks like I answered all these questions over here. And over on Instagram as well. Yeah, send a question. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Thanks for explaining the egg beater and the soccer kick to the bottom. I'm off to the pool and give it a shot. Yeah, read those articles first, though. Very important. You'll see what I'm talking about because there's embedded videos in there, and that should help you tremendously with understanding how to do it. And here's another problem. Mobility is usually the biggest factor in why people can't do a good egg beater kick. Hips, knees, and ankles need to be able to bend in a way so you get a full range of motion going down. I usually see people starting off with the egg beater. They understand what the egg beater is, but they're missing out on about 60% of their range of motion just because of their hips, knees, and ankles unable to get into that egg beater position. So yeah, if you're not mobile enough to do the egg beater, go with scissor kick. Or take about 3 weeks and start doing the frog pose, which is in that article, and you'll start seeing hips, knees, and ankles get a little more pliable, and then you're able to get more of a range of motion on that egg beater, which will produce more power. Next thing you know, you got your elbows out of the water and you look like a water polo goalie. Yeah, I became a coach to some people who failed a tread test a few years ago, and it seeing them struggle with the tread made me a better coach because I realized they knew what they were doing with the motion of the egg beater. They just didn't have the mobility to make that a fully powerful kick for them. So what we did is we would stretch for a couple of minutes outside the pool, get back in and tread. Tread till we were tired, stretch again, get back in the pool. So we turned it into like a mobility day for treading, and it was everybody passed their tread test in 3 weeks. Because it takes about 3 weeks to add mobility, I would say. A couple of days, I would say you probably want to do some mobility work just about every day on something for 3 weeks. Doesn't have to be hardcore, just minutes at a time, and you'll see big difference. All right, looks like we got some questions over here. My coordinator said the PST should be 10% of your daily output. So to make 100 push-ups, do 1,000. How do you feel about this? Seems like a lot. I would say, yeah, that's a lot. No need to do 1,000. I mean, I've done 1,000 before just because I thought, hey, let's test it out. And for some reason, one of the BUDS instructors at my BUDS class had a fetish with the number 1,000, and we did 1,000 of everything. Did 1,000 push-ups, 1,000 8-count bodybuilders, 1,000 flutter kicks, 1,000 sit-ups, 1,000 jumping jacks. That was probably the worst one. Everybody's calves were blown up after that. And they're all 4 count too, which made it even worse. So you're doing 2,000 jumping jacks when you're counting to 4 every rep. So we've done it. You can do it, but I don't think it's necessary. I would say we usually, on our high-end days, like today was a very high-end day, we did about 150 to 200 pull-ups. We did 300 to 400 push-ups. And we did probably about 500 sit-ups. Yeah, about 500 sit-ups today. Or, I don't like doing just sit-ups, so I would say we did 500 abs where we mixed in sit-ups with flutter kicks and seconds worth of plank pose. So instead of doing 500 sit-ups, we worked on pace of your sit-ups, because what's going to get you doing better in sit-up tests is not starting off so fast. So if you can do 20 to 25 in 30 seconds, that's going to set you on a pace, just like running, of 50 in a minute. Next thing you know, you have 100 in 2 minutes. It's a great way to learn sit-ups. Learn it on a pace. So usually we'll do 30 seconds worth of sit-ups, and we shoot for 20 to 25. That puts us in that 80 to 100 window every time. Got your spring tactical fitness workout book and starting it today after work. Thanks for sending it, and read the first part of the book. Learned a lot already, especially on warm-ups and cooldowns. Oh, good. So I sent some books out last week. I don't have any books to send this week, so as I get some coming in, I'll give away some books again. But yeah, let me know how that one goes. I think you'll like that one. It's one of my favorites. Spring is just an awesome cycle. Also like the fall one too. The fall is the spring in reverse. Instead of we're getting ready for the winter lift cycle in the fall. So our running's starting to decrease. Our reps are starting to decrease. We're adding weight to our calisthenics, and then we're going to evolve into a winter lift cycle. Whereas the spring's just the opposite. We're ramping up the running, we're ramping up the calisthenics, and in the summer, we're just redlining the calisthenics and the miles and swimming too. So it's a good little system. It's a bell curve, and it is a natural process, and the body responds to it really well. If you don't know what seasonal tactical fitness periodization is, you can Google it. Don't even need to put my name into it because I created it, and it is my system that I use to train. I've been doing it since I was 30 years old, and I am now 56. So 26 years. It helps. All right, so we have an 8:50 swim, an 8:30 run, good, 90 push, 85 sit-ups, 23 pull-ups, current PST, but I'm going to have to wait around 2 years to go to BUDS. Any books, articles I'm maintaining? I mean, I wouldn't sweat it. I mean, you can always maintain. You just need to go through the cycle I just created, just mentioned, Seasonal Tactical Fitness Periodization. There's a book that's called increase strength and crush the PST, that is a great way to do a lift cycle and maintain or even improve your PST scores. Because you still have room for swimming improvement. Probably don't have a whole lot of room for running and calisthenics improvement. Some maybe, but your swimming can be able to drop 50 seconds easy. That's what I would do. Get into a winter lift cycle and then go back to a calisthenic cycle. Just go back and forth. You got 2 years. You're a great candidate for seasonal tactical fitness periodization. In fact, I'll quit talking about it and just write it down here for you. Here's the link. Check it out. I promise you, it is a system that will be helpful for you. Let's see. It is Cinco de Mayo. Forgot about that. Yesterday was a classic. It's the May the 4th be with you day for Star Wars dorks, which I am one. I hear about the tread test at Buds. Besides the Twin 80 tread, what other tread is there? I mean, there's one in first phase where you're just treading with no hands. It's not that hard, but you need to know how to tread with no hands without weight. And then with the Twin 80 tread is your scuba tanks are on your back. You have a 12-pound weight belt and no hands, and you have fins on your feet. So that's a different tread altogether. That's all scissor kicking or flutter kicking. So you want to practice those for sure as well. All right, answer those questions. Let me see. Looks like I have answered all questions. Anybody else? What Jedi or Sith Lord would be the worst instructor? I don't know. That's a good question. They all had a unique style for sure. I think I would like Samuel L. Jackson as my instructor. When he was in one of them, I think, right? I come from non-athletic background, not the best in shape right now. Not gonna lie, I have a DFT with the AvSpec War Recruiter. You mean IFT, Spec War Recruiter? What would your advice for someone like myself? Well, my advice for someone like you and everyone is don't even talk to a recruiter until you're ready to take this test. I mean, if you're taking an IFT and you've never prepared for an IFT, it's going to look horrible and you're going to waste your time and that instructor's time. And, it's not, you got to think about these things too. I mean, this is a job interview. I mean, would you go into a job interview like unprepared? I mean, that makes no sense to me. And people do it every day. And they're just perennial failures of this PST or the IFT with their instructor. And their instructor's like, yeah, he's just wasting my time. He's getting a little better, right? So I hope that's not you. I hope you have. There's nothing wrong with being non athletic. I mean, non athletic people can get into great shape. There's a difference. You just need to put in the work so you're in shape. But if you're getting tested for your in shape conditioning when you're not in shape, why? Why do that to yourself? Why do that to your instructor? Take some time, get a program that teaches you the IFT, and get on it. My buddy from Spirit Woodworking, well said. Just had a buddy going through 11 Bravo initial training shift doing to 11 X-ray because he was ready to go to the Q course. Yeah. I mean, as long as you're ready, go crush it. But if you're not, don't waste your time and the instructor's time. My number one rule is this: don't even talk to a recruiter until you are crushing this test. Period. This is your entrance exam into communities that you want to serve. You really want to serve, you will prepare yourself properly and be a great candidate. Because if you go there and you suck at everything, you're not a great candidate. And they're going to realize that in about 45 minutes of taking this test. It's just a test that takes 45 minutes. The actual test you're preparing for is 6 months to a year long. So why are you setting yourself up for failure by going up, taking this test while you're in the delayed entry program, failing it, maybe passing it one day, getting a contract, and you've done nothing to prepare for the actual test after boot camp and basic training, which is selection? Have you ever thought of that? There is a phase 2 of tactical fitness that I try to yell at everybody. Because if you're not, to prepare to get to the training, you got to crush this fitness test. To get through the training, it's a lot more than that. You got to crush longer runs, rucking, weight training to prepare for load bearing activities like boats and logs, longer swims with scuba fins, pool skills in the water, treading, underwater swims, drown proofing. Come on, man. This isn't like you're preparing for high school football in June for the upcoming fall season. You need more time. Give yourself time. Otherwise, your journey in Spec Ops is going to be very short. That's a good one to end on, don't you think? I think so. All right, guys. I will be back tomorrow. We'll talk swimming. I'll show some more swim videos. If you have some, send them to me. Happy to share them and give you some technique critiques, and we'll go from there. All right, folks. Have a good one. I will see you tomorrow.